On April 22nd, 1877, at the St. George's Day market, a group of men got into a fight in a local inn at Luoke, a small town in northwestern Lithuania. Soon, the brawl spilled into the town's market square, and as the Russian police arrived, they discovered that what had started as a scuffle had turned into bloody vigilantism, in which a mob of several hundred men and women took the law into their own hands. The victim of the bomb violence lay dead on the square with a broken skull. According to a police report, he was the greatest robber and horse thief in the neighboring districts, a local peasant called Tadas Blinda. As an outlaw, Blinda was buried together with suicides beyond a ditch in an unconsecrated corner of the cemetery in Luoke. Now, he's a Lithuanian folk hero. Today we're talking about national identity and how film contributes to it. More specifically, how screen adaptations of the life of the leveler of the world, Tadas Blinda, reflects, reinforces, and creates new national narratives for the Lithuanian society. A narrative is a story, but a national narrative is something more. It's a particularly powerful story, one that shows up over and over again. The United States, for example, has a national narrative that Americans tamed the wild frontier, an overarching idea of most American westerns. The same narrative reappeared in the years when the United States started actively exploring outer space, as exemplified with the rise of American sci-fi movies. Film plays a huge role in building national identity through dictating the national narrative. Films reflect, reinforce, and create new national narratives, and they do so broadly through characters and how they interact, the plot, scenography, in general, any and all details from costume design to subtle soundtrack themes influence the way we experience cinema and our takeaway from it. In order to understand how a horse thief became a part of the Lithuanian national identity, we have to introduce the notion of the social bandit. Social banditry or social crime is a popular form of lower-class social resistance involving illegal behavior as recognized by the state, but is supported by wider society, usually the peasantry, as being moral and acceptable. The term social bandit was invented by the Marxist historian Eric Hobsbawm in his 1959 book Primitive Rebels. Hobsbawm characterized social banditry as a primitive form of class struggle and class resistance in usually pre-industrial and frontier societies. The range of cultures that have a social bandit hero as part of their heritage range from Rob Roy of Scotland, Robin Hood of England, both of which had multiple screen adaptations, Robin Hood alone having over 100 TV and film screenings since the early 20th century, to Tadas Blinda of Lithuania, who is the subject of today's analysis. Blinda's life was formally dramatized in 1907 by the Lithuanian writers Lazdynų Pelėda and Gabrielius Landsbergis Žemkalnis. The play, Blinda, the Leveler of the World, presented him as a champion of the common people battling the Polish landlords and the Russian Empire that governed Lithuania, and was enthusiastically received. The legend lived on and was made into a popular film in 1973. It featured the actor Vytautas Stonkus, dramatic hand-to-hand combat and horsemanship, and the scenery of Aukštaitija National Park. It was an immediate success. Although the film was released with the approval of the Soviet government, many viewers interpreted it as a veiled reference to the Lithuanian partisans who, living in the forests, continued to resist the Soviet occupation during the 1940s and 1950s. It subtly portrays the historically deep roots of dissent in Lithuanian culture, which because of centuries of occupation and cultural oppression became a fundamental piece of Lithuanian identity. The noble, oppressed peasant which through strength of heart and unity overcomes all hardships. Such are the qualities of the greatest thief and hero in the district, Tadas Blinda. Thus, Tadas Blinda becomes a part of the Lithuanian national identity through reflecting its historical reality. By recognizing it and putting these values on the big screen, the identity is reinforced. But what about creation?
Žmonės mes ar gyvuliai? Nežinau. Turbūt žmonės užtat, kad žmonės.
Na, Віручий, нас пожелай себе когосим.
In 2011, the Outlaw makes a rebirth in Tadas Blinda's The Beginning to create a new identity for a new, young Lithuania, hence the title. The movie itself is quite poor as it clearly tries very hard to be Western with expensive yet horribly placed explosions, massive fighting scenes, and a cheesy romance. However, it accurately portrays the active current struggle of Lithuania to build an image of a Western, European integrated nation. Despite and more so even because of its flaws, the film stands as a clear example of building a new national identity. Not to say that Lithuanians are horse thieves, but rather that we glorify them.